Hey everyone, this is Let Me Know How It Is, a podcast about all things geek. Tonight, we're sharing our favorite moments from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you're a new listener, welcome to the family. We release new episodes every Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Alright, so this is our first episode actually talking about the MCU. Can you believe it? It took 48 episodes. How about that? I'm Zach Slater.
I'm Frank Melman.
This is Tommy Smithereens.
And I'm Clifton.
Okay, so we finally have a release date for WandaVision on Disney+. It was announced today, actually, on the day we're recording, that January 15th, 2021 is when we will see the premiere episode. So this will actually be the very first MCU thing in a while, not since Spider-Man Far From Home. Black Widow and the Turtles didn't get their proper release dates. Everything got pushed back. So it's been a while. So we're hungry for some Marvel movies and some TV. So I thought to gear up for some new stuff, we talk about our favorite moments from the MCU so far. I have many. I know you guys and you listeners probably have a bunch. So let's get at it.
I'll start it off then. I may be going too hard, but I think I'm going to go with Winter Soldier, the elevator scene.
Boom.
Okay.
I mean, oh, yes, of course.
I love the quiet build towards it as they all one by one get on that get in that elevator, and it turns from a quiet ride to the top to a great fight scene.
Yeah, It's tense.
Extremely.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Yeah, I like the fact that Cap reads the situation and realizes something's going on, and that things are not what they're supposed to be. And that scene, like he reads the guy's trickle of sweat and knows, like, oh, okay, it's about to happen. And then has that great line about if anyone wants to get off, like, pretty much now's the time.
Yeah. Forewarns them.
What I like about that scene too is that like he wrecks the room, but it's not easy.
No,
you know, like it looks difficult for him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Instead of it being like a posy fight. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh no, they almost take him out. They take out one arm at least during the course of the fight. You know.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. I love that scene too.
Yeah, and due to the confined space, he doesn't really get to use his shield as much as he wants to.
Oh. Yeah. No, it's a really, really fun one. That's one of my favorites too. While since you brought up Winter Soldier, I'll stick with that one though, because the movie's got a bunch of really great fights.
Yeah, it does.
And so my favorite, or one of my favorites from that movie is the freighter scene, like in the open. Like I love when Cap jumps out of the plane and you know lands in the water and then jumps onto the boat and he's just like clearing out guys as he's running.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love
that.
It's done really well because it's one of those moments of this is like we see this all the time. And like if you've ever read a Captain America run by anybody, you know, Cap goes through normal dudes like it's no problem.
Yeah.
Whether it's Nazis or whether it's just henchmen type guys or just guys that are there holding guns, walking along a boat, he handles no problem. So it's always cool to see that kind of stuff, that attention to detail from the book come to life.
Yeah. And there's like fun stuff that they do with like cuts and stuff in there where like he runs past the wall and then there's a cut and then like he's like farther, right? Just to sort of hint at like how fast he's moving. There's a cool like fluidity to that scene too. I just like sort of like how efficient a mover he is and how, you know, just how quick he is at taking those guys out. Plus the costume is awesome. I think that suit in that scene is like maybe my favorite Captain America suit in any of the movies.
Kind of like the stealthy Cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love that. I really love that suit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if we're doing Winter Soldier and we're getting it right out of the way at the top, I personally love the in that scene is the fight on the highway.
Yeah,
where basically you have that bit where they're like in the car and Winter Soldier, you know, Bucky just basically spoiler, Bucky basically reaches through the sunroof and grabs Jasper Sitwell and tosses him, and then at the same time, you know, grabs the steering wheel, so they're basically helpless. They can't drive the car, and then you get that great bit of Cap like running, like basically avoiding a road rash by riding on his shield, and then you know it carries over the overpass, and they're fighting the guys with machine guns, and then it's one of those. To me, it's one of the best fights in all of the Marvel Universe stuff, the cinematic stuff, because like there's that bit when they're fighting when Cap and Bucky are fighting in the street, and there's that moment with the knife flip, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that scene so
Yeah,
much.
no, that knife fight is great.
Yeah,
that's on my list too. Yeah, Cap versus Bucky in the street. Oh, it's so good. Like against the van,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, but then he like stab the van because of the strength of like his arm. He basically managed to basically put that knife through the like he's like a tin can cuts along that van.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that whole sequence is to me is one of the best. Again, all the way to the point where they get captured is one of the best. The best scenes in all of in that movie. I mean, that movie is a great movie anyway. But in like fight wise, I think it's one of the best fights they've ever done.
Yeah. No, I love the choreography of that one though too. There's like Cap does like a running knee.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Bucky that every time I watch it, I'm like, oh god, like like sometimes with like these scenes, like the moves can be like so fluid and quick,
right?
Where like they kind of like the moves like flow into the next one and stuff like that. But that one stings.
Yeah. Well, what I like about that whole sequence is you can tell they put it, like you said, it's choreographed, but it's done so well and executed so well by the two of them, especially like I think Chris Evans doesn't get nearly enough credit for that whole sequence because it comes off. I mean, I don't know how many times they had to do it, but it comes off so well, especially being one moving piece.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
But it also in a way doesn't feel dance like.
No, that's the other thing I was going to say was like even though you can tell it was they obviously blocked that and choreographed it out and rehearsed and worked it. It comes off as being it has that feel of like, wow, the stakes are high. It's a real fight. We don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I love that one. It's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. No, there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm. What I was going to say was just how the movie started. I just love how he meets Falcon. The whole thing of him just taking a morning jog, and how you show how much stronger he is than a normal person. Like he just laughs around the was it the Lincoln? Was it the Lincoln?
Yeah, I think it's Lincoln Memorial, right?
Yeah. Where he's doing laps around the pool, like it's nothing.
The tidal basin.
Thank you, tidal basin. Yeah.
No, that's nice. It's nice because it's a nice bit of rivalry. It's a nice bit of like he's in his own Cap way, he's having fun, but he's not being a dick, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because he could have easily turned it into I'm a much, and he never really does it, but it's sort of like a friendly rivalry thing. And then they build on their friendship from there, which is cool.
Yeah. But and their friendship though is like immediate in that scene though too. Like, like it does, there is a competition. There is a friendliness to it. There is a little bit of in awe of Cap. In there, which I like, but yeah, they hit it off right. I mean, their relationship is one of my favorites in all the movies too. I think that's one that I think that they really, really land and continuously. Like I don't think there's a bad scene with them ever.
Not really.
Those guys,
No, I would second that because they just play off for each other really well, and it's one of those things where again, as much as they need to stick the landing, no joke there. With Cap being getting that right with Evans, I think the idea that they got it right, that friendship needed to be important because it's such an important it's people want to lump Falcon sometimes as a sidekick, but really they weren't. It wasn't ever really a sidekick situation. It was always like they were partners, like they were definitely equals.
Yeah,
and there may have been some awe, like you said, but it still comes off as no, he's an equal. He can equally handle himself in the situation. So
sure. Yeah, like when he needs backup, he's the first guy he goes to.
Yeah,
right.
Which is very telling, right?
Yeah. But I think it doesn't get talked about as much, but I love Cap and Black Widow in that movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice dynamic.
I think it's it'd be so easy to turn them into a romantic relationship, and I like that they had the discipline to just make them close, but not go over that line.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's the funny thing about in doing this episode. I keep wanting to talk about callbacks to stuff. So I'm kind of like, nah, we'll wait and save that for another moment. But it's one of those. I like their relationship in it too. I like the fact that it's not really spelled out, but you can almost see the. I mean, obviously, if it was done, say it was done 30 years ago, the idea of the Cold War stuff would have been played up a lot more. But the idea that she's much more of an opposite to him, like all that he represents, like whether it's the USSR and Russia, or the idea that she's more of an assassin as opposed to, or more of like straight killer as opposed to a soldier. But they both went, when we find out later in Age of Ultron that they both sort of went through, that she went through a similar sort of schooling, I guess we'll call it.
Right.
You know, it's easy to see the difference between them and the fact that they do become so close and they are so friendly. You know, they have a good needling back. Again, there's another good, you know, there's respect, but there's also a good needling back and forth of each other, which is fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Good one. I love Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's great. I mean, you know, I had, you know, just from this movie alone, so I had all the stuff we talked about, but I had like the Nick Fury ambush scene in the car.
Oh yeah.
Like that's an awesome scene. I had you know, Batroc. Clifton knows I was going to bring him up. I love Batroc.
I was waiting for that myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just it's a fun.
Well, you already brought up the scene. You just didn't mention that.
yeah, right. I didn't bring him up, but you know, it's another really, really great fight. I think too. Yeah. So, anybody have any more from Winter Soldier? Or
I like the climax of it. Basically, the idea that when it's revealed what the plan is and who's behind it all. There's a scene where Robert Redford's character looks out the window and it's basically he sees from a distance the helicarrier, and like we know from as the audience we know what's going on in the helicarrier, but you just see like there's a really cool shot of like Falcon looping around, taking, you know, I guess with submachine guns and doing his thing. It's a really cool shot because I like the idea of the fact that Redford's character is just watching, you know, all this stuff that he's basically put in motion.
Right.
Happen. You know, I think that's it's like a small moment that I really like in that movie a lot.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I like the Arnim Zola. Like that was another one that I was like, wow, I wasn't ready for that. That's cool. Like, yeah, you somehow cram 5 bad guys into this movie and it works.
No, and then it's a nice. I mean, the other fact that it's a nice take on the Kirby, you know, the Kirby design without it being the Kirby design of like having, you know, the television and basically a television in the chest of the character.
Right,
which is a really cool looking, you know, it's a really cool visual. It's another, you know, in a myriad of really great Kirby visuals. But yeah, to get that when, like you said, you didn't expect it, I didn't expect it. It's a nice callback. It went into the comics.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw in just really quick in the spirit of action sequences. I'm going to throw in the one movie I thought wouldn't come up really at all. And I'm going to say the Monaco sequence from Iron Man 2.
No. Oh, you're talking about Whiplash? Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I like that sequence a lot. I like the Iron Man armor nod with the briefcase.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think, I mean, Mickey Rourke, I mean, as funny a performance as it, I mean, God, that guy's got presence on camera.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because like that character's never really like. I mean, he's a second tier Iron Man villain, so it's kind of weird to elevate him to for the sequel to elevate him to a much bigger status. And it's one of those things where you have to fabricate a story to make that work. It always comes off, it's either a hit or a miss. It's never really in between. It's kind of like with it's not an MCU movie, but with the Spider-Man 3, where you kind of change the story of Sandman from being a thug who gets superpowers. Right, to having some resonance. Like it doesn't always work. And I think the situation where if they just let him be a mercenary with whips, it would have been cool, but no, they had to make it more. So
yeah, it's not the standout movie no. as far as the MCU goes, but yeah,
that sequence is cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really fun. It's just like that's one of the things that I like about that movie is its ability to sort of like let's think of like kind of weird, interesting places to put things. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like I remember I'd heard somewhere, I think it might have been a Favreau interview where they were saying in the script that scene with Stark and Nick Fury. Mm-hmm. Where they meet like in the donut shop. Right. Which is a really good scene. I like that scene a lot. But like in the script, it was just written as sort of like just a generic bunker, just like a military bunker or whatever. And he was just like, let's see if we can find like a more interesting place to put this. And, and I just like, I think that's cool that some care was put into like, let's not make everything look like, not to crap on those movies, but not look like it's the downstairs sequences of all the X-Men movies where it's just like blue.
I know. Yeah,
everywhere,
Right. It's a sub basement of our sub basement.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get that.
So that wraps the Iron Man 2 portion of the show.
No. Actually, no. No, there's a scene that me and Clifton like. I'm pretty accurate that Clifton likes the scene is when I can't think of the actor's name when he dances on stage.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer.
Yeah, thank you.
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah. That's always good.
Yeah. I would love Sam Rockwell to come back.
Yeah.
He's on my wish list of actors that have appeared that haven't come back yet in any way. Like
he came back in the one shot.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in a Marvel one shot.
Yeah.
I love Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
He's great.
No, he's good. He's good too. I agree with he's, I mean, Justin Hammer in the like the 80s, Bob Layton, David, I always butcher his name. I think it's Michelini in that run, the classic Iron Man run. He's in it fairly often, so they could easily bring him back if they wanted to.
Right. Yeah, he's much older in the comics, right?
Yes, he's an older character in the comics. Yeah. He's kind of like an older, aging billionaire kind of a thing.
Right. And I think that there was possibly some attempt in this movie to make him kind of like the evil Stark.
Yeah.
Right? Like like the mirror image bad guy a little bit there. Yeah. Just cool.
Yep.
In MCU continuity, he's still in prison.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's he's they could always do that.
Yeah. I'm in for it.
Yeah, no. So I have one. One of the ones that I was hesitant about whether it was going to be pulled off well or not, and it's one of those things where I probably shouldn't have been, was Spider-Man Far From Home.
Okay.
The scene that I absolutely love that sells the character for me, that basically makes it work, the whole thing work, is the sequence where Mysterio basically lets Peter see basically what he's capable of with the illusions.
Mm-hmm.
That whole sequence of the all the stuff that happens that basically overwhelms Peter, and then eventually he gets hit by the train or the car? I can't remember which.
Yeah, it's the electric rail in Germany.
Yeah,
the
that's
train
what it
tracks.
is. Yeah, basically it's one of those things where, I mean, it's because there's still looks like they're rolling out slowly the idea of Peter having spider sense. So it's one of those things where he wouldn't know all the stuff that's going to happen. When all those illusions happen. And I think they do a really cool job with it. And then like the bit with that's where we see like the zombie Tony Stark too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that stuff I think is great, because in the comics sometimes that stuff is done really well with Mysterio, and it's it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, Ditko does an amazing job at the beginning when the character first premieres, but the idea that they carried across in the movie, that's one of my favorite sequences. I mean, it was I'm like, oh, they got it so right when they did that bit.
Yeah,
for Mysterio.
Yeah, it's a well-made scene. It's a well-crafted scene. Like it's just as it's disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
Like as it's supposed to be for Peter, which is cool.
Right.
Mysterio is it's one of my favorites as far as Spider-Man bad guys goes. And what I love about Far From Home is how we got classic Mysterio and an update Mysterio, and we got sort of like a new take on the fishbowl helmet that also works, but we also got to see the classic fishbowl. So right. It gave it all to us.
Yeah, I mean the character. Coming off the idea that he's a special effects guy to begin with in the comics, I think it does a nice job of basically selling you on the idea that, he's pretty much a genius in his own right too, which I don't think gets played up enough. I think a lot of times he's played sort of as like, yeah, he does illusions. It's sort of like, yeah, once you get past the illusions, it's not a big deal. But I think no, he's much more of a big deal than people give the character credit for.
Yeah,
and they did a great job selling him to people who, like, if you read the comics, Mysterio is a bad guy, but a lot of this audience does not read the comics, and a lot of this audience did not know who Mysterio was beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did a very good job of selling him as a hero to audiences that didn't know him.
Right.
And enough that twist worked on a lot of people.
Sure.
Right.
And was still even satisfying to watch when you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, Clifton, because a lot of early speculation was that all of the various elemental creatures that he was creating were basically these other characters from another book, and the book shot up in value because people were speculating that it was going to be those characters, and that that the MCU was basically going to make Mysterio a heroic character. And I was like, guys, he's a con man from the jump. He uses special effects to make people see things that aren't there, and you're falling for it. So
yeah.
but they were so effective. They did
Oh,
it
they
so
were.
well.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. That's why it's one of my favorites, too.
One of my favorite moments also comes from Far From Home, but it's the other opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay.
And it's the airplane montage when they're flying to Italy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because it's such a good like 80s teen movie montage. It's like right up there with the like playing in the halls scene in Breakfast Club.
Okay.
But it just tells so much story from like the moment where it's Peter trying to like connive to get with sit next to MJ and sets Ned up to help him, and Ned does a horrible job trying to help him, and it all goes downhill from there. And then from that moment on, like there's just the montage of like it going worse and worse and worse for Peter, and then Ned ending up with a girlfriend by the end of it.
Right.
But just like every little moment of that just tells so much story in that little montage, and I love the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so well edited and so well directed.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is. And I mean, and I think that maybe since the Raimi movies, like that was the best like feeling I've had watching a Spider-Man movie that I felt reading in a comic, where it's just like, oh man, he's just getting kicked in the balls over and over and over.
Sure.
Like,
Right. He's just having, basically he's having a typical Peter Parker day. That's what's going on.
Peter can't win.
Right. Well, I mean, it's funny again. Like I have that moment. Like that movie I love, but what sells it for me, and I'll switch. I'm transitioning to Homecoming. The moment that I love in that movie, where that I feel is so much Spider-Man, is Peter going through his day, and he just keeps checking the clock and checking the clock and checking the clock, and then like as soon as like the 3 o'clock bell rings, he's out the door. He knows full well he can put on a Spider-Man costume and go do what he wants. And it's like, I mean, if you're that kid and you've ever been in that situation in a class, you know what that's like. But on top of that, to go be able to go out and be Spider-Man after, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Oh, the Sony Marvel deal's been so great. Oh my God. Tom Holland is such a great Spider-Man. Oh, I love it so much. The reveal in Homecoming is great too. The Vulture reveal.
It's nicely done because you don't see it because you don't see it coming. It's not done in a way that like it works. Like it's the pieces are there to work, and then when it's the reveal is what it is. It's really well done.
It's not telegraphed. It's not telegraphed at all. And and I the oh God, I'm blanking on the idea. The McDuffie idea that Stark starts up at the start of Homecoming.
Oh, you mean damage control? Damage
control, yeah.
Right.
It's nice getting damage control in there and everything, and it's also a nice motive for Toombs to be who he is, and I like that this character that becomes Vulture is a scavenger. Yeah, like he's just picking off broken junk and stuff that's been around, right? Like he's just
we've talked about that before, Zach. The idea that. No, the fact that they set Vulture up as a guy who owns a scrapyard was genius because it so seamlessly fits into his bit. Because I mean, not to be that guy, but I'll be that guy because that's what I do. Was the idea that Mysterio and Vulture to an extent have a tie-in with the Tinkerer, who's also in Spider-Man Homecoming. They all have a kind of a shared, not a shared origin, but basically a place of. Hey, my gear's not working. What do? I go to this guy, the Tinker, and he either makes it for me, makes it or upgrades it for me. And I thought that was a nice touch too to introduce that character, who's again a character I would like to see come back.
Yeah, me too. I like when they get those other guys, like those side guys in that play like a smaller role in things, and as long as you're not doing the keeping the circle too tight bit, which I don't think Homecoming does. I mean, it's you get Shocker. As well, and and he's also one of my favorites too. Like
and Shocker too.
Yeah, you get both of them. That's what I thought was really cool. They managed because that's one of the complaints about those kind of movies is they want to, like you said, keep the circle tight and they want to cram as many characters as they can into it. But I think that it works really well in Homecoming that they're all part of his crew, and as Clifton points out, we get one Shocker and then we get another one. So it works. So it's a great one.
I like that they figured it out because there was a time like since Batman Returns where there was a moment where you heard they're doing two villains in a movie and you kind of went like you were conditioned to think like those don't work. It never works.
Or one's going to get shortchanged.
Exactly. But then once you start, I guess like intentionally steering into that, like no, we're just kind of doing like a Bond opening and we're gonna have like he's gonna fight Crossbones.
Right.
you know,
Right,
in the opening, and that's it. You know, even though they set him up in the previous one, but you know, like I like that. I like that you get a sample of this other character, and then okay, but really, this guy's the other bad guy.
Well, we talked about before for a long time, like why, you know, I don't need an entire Killer Croc movie and to be kind of pathos of a Killer Croc. I'd love to see Killer Croc in an opening for a Batman movie, and then Croc goes away to jail, and we move on to our main story.
Yeah.
But no, the other scenes I like from Homecoming. One, I love the interrogation scene with Donald Glover's character.
Sure.
Just because he's, you know, it's definitely one of those things where early on, especially, they definitely try to get you believe in that early Spider-Man Ditko and Stan Lee stuff that, you know, yeah, he's Spider-Man, but still he's a kid, but they don't really let a lot of that shine through. Like a lot of times it's kind of like Peter has to become the man of the house and therefore he sort of steps up. And I like the idea of there's kind of a learning curve.
Yeah.
You know, and that Donald Glover's character basically calls him out on it and says, "You've never really done this before, have you?"
Yeah.
You know, and that whole thing about, you know, you're still a bad person. I got ice cream in the trunk. Yeah, you're still a bad person. It'll be melted in about an hour or two.
Yeah, exactly. You deserve this.
You deserved it. Right. Yeah, that's a great one. You deserve this. I love that.
But it's so Peter. That scene is so Peter all around where, you know, like he's kind of an F up. He's not good at this.
No.
And yet though, there's something like he points out his heroism in that moment though too. He was like when you told the guy shoot at me, he's like, that's, you know, that's something. That's you know, you don't see that every day. Like, you know, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they get that. That's something in those. A lot of the Marvel movies they do is they definitely get toned right.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I think those movies, especially the Spider-Man ones, that they do a really good job of getting the tone right.
And the thing too that like even like their switch ups, like I'm fine with, you know, like if you would have told me we're gonna give Spider-Man a suit that he talks to, that's kind of like a sort of Iron Man armor, I would have been like, oh, that's a terrible idea, and it's great.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, like the way they sell it to me is perfect.
Right. No, it works and it fits. Again, it's much more of an Ultimate Spider-Man take for sure. You know, than it is Amazing, but still at the same time they managed to get the Amazing stuff in there, so I'm happy with it. I'm good with it.
We'll keep it with Spider-Man really quick. I'll shift us to Civil War really quick because you know I've said this to you. Like I love that the Spider-Man origin is summed up in a line.
Oh yeah, no, it was on my list. That was definitely on my list.
I absolutely love that scene so much when he's just like, you know, when you could do what I do and you don't,
right? And
bad things happen, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And I like that we don't have to see the Uncle Ben stuff and everything like that. It's just inferred all over. It's all in that. And, you know, and we've all talked about this too. We're like, it's so fitting with the theme of that movie where it's about choice, right? And the choices you make and everything. And like, and who's the most tragic character in that movie is Bucky, the one that has his ability to make choice completely stripped away from him.
Right.
You know,
I love that scene at the apartment just because it's one of those things where, you know, I like the idea that it doesn't, again, like you said, we don't need another origin movie. We don't need to see Uncle Ben, bleed to death in the street. We get to move on. And the other idea is the fact that, like you said, we get with great power comes great responsibility, but done in a totally different way. Yeah. And I like that too. I thought, you know, I think the idea that, you know, that Stark has basically been has this, and again, it's done in a much better way than I've seen in other movies where it's kind of like, you know, a hero or main hero knows about another character doing stuff within their universe and it's not clunky at all. It feels like it's just natural, something he just keeps track of. Right. Yeah. You know, I like that too.
Yeah. And I like that scene's kind of also like a job interview in some way. Like he's also like, you know, it's strategic. Like I need backup. This kid's been on my radar, but also like, what's this kid about? You know? And he sees that, you know, that there's, you know, sincerity to what Peter wants to do. Right. Yeah. Which is, you know, Civil War's got a lot of great moments for me too. I'm going to, a Giant Man. I throw Giant Man out there. Like it's one of my favorite moments ever. No, and it was not spoiled for me. I know that some people had it spoiled by like the Lego set or something that came out.
I was totally that guy. I had it spoiled by the Lego set.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we all did. Yeah, we all did.
Oh, not me. Oh, man, did that scene work on me?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I went in not knowing anything about it either.
Oh, no. When I saw that Lego set, geez, I was like, really? It's a Southern.
Clifton and Zach, did we see that together? I thought we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I remember because that was the thing. Yeah, I knew about that from the Lego set, and I might have known it from the Marvel Legends that it was that. But it's still a great scene. I mean, it's still that's still fantastic. Again, the fact that they did it and the fact they were able to make it work and it looks cool and that whole fight. Honestly, that whole fight on the tarmac is a great fight. Is a great scene. I think it's about 20 minutes long.
It is,
which is it's one of those. It moves along. People have their moments. I know some people are like, no, it's not. They would be. I'm like, people have relationships outside of being superheroes. They have they're gonna talk to each other. They're not just gonna throw down and fight.
Right.
I love the. I'm Clint. I don't care.
Right.
That old thing with him and Black Panther.
Yeah. Right. I mean, there's a component to that scene that's just them kind of sparring.
Right.
Also, to me, which I like, and until it gets real, right? Like that's sort of my feeling, because you get, like you get Black Widow and you get Hawkeye like fighting, and they're straight up, they're like, we're still friends, right? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
depends on how hard you hit me. Yeah. All that's great.
Oh man, it's so great. Yeah, the one that I in that scene, I'm like, you all need to watch out for is Black Panther. Yeah, like, because he's not messing around in that scene. No, he's
He's
pissed.
There. Yeah, he's mad.
Yeah,
but that's that. I love that whole scene, that whole fight. Anybody got orange slices is good.
Yeah,
I think even like I read an article about Paul Rudd when they're basically in the airport before they're out on the tarmac, and that basically the nervous energy of being around those other characters like Chris Evans and knowing full well what was at stake.
Yeah,
Paul Rudd sort of used that nervous energy to be like, oh, Captain America, that whole thing. That really, he's like, it really made it easy to do that scene. Yeah.
And then his punchline for Scarlet Witch, like, hey, I know you, you're good too. Like,
right. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
But no, like you said, like even the point where it gets real and it goes from being, sort of being like they're sparring around and they're goofing around and then some of them are really fighting, some of them are not. And then, the point with War Machine. And then when Falcon shows up and Iron Man just doesn't even look at him, just blasts him in the chest.
Yep.
It's a really well. I mean, the whole thing I think is really well done. I think it's one.
Right.
Again, they should be. Everyone involved with that whole scene should be really proud because it's it's one of those things that could have easily gone. I've seen other long-term fight scenes that don't look as good or have as much weight or hit me as hard when they get to the end of it as that scene.
Yeah. No, I always wish, though. I mean, my thing is when Rhodey gets hit is I wish that Tony yells Rhodey instead of Rhodes. It's a small nitpicky thing, but I'm like, in that instant, I think the protective, like their brotherly relationship would have come out like right there, right? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you there. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Rhodes is a little too formal.
Right.
It's a little too soldiery, I think. And it's, and I'm like, and there's a friendship that goes back years and years and years and years before any of the superhero stuff starts with them. Yeah. But I like the camaraderie with Spider-Man and Cap though, too, where, he's got like the terminal, Peter's like holding it up, and then, he's like, you got spunk, kid. Where are you from? And he's like, Brooklyn. Yeah. Or no, he's like Queens. And he goes, Brooklyn. I love that bit. Yeah.
No, that's really good too.
Cap, like Chris Evans is such a good Cap.
Yeah. He was really, really good.
To not make that stuff corny.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, I also like I like the scene in the vault. I think the scene in the vault's really good too. Because I think it's one of those things where, granted in other movies we get to see characters call Tony on his crap, but the fact that they're on opposite sides of glass in a prison.
Oh, and the raft.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the vault. Yeah, the vault is the one that's on land. The raft. That's right. You're right. The raft. But I like the bit with Clint being like, "Here comes the futurist, everyone! It's the futurist." The guy that basically claims to see that he can see the future didn't see this coming. That they were going to fight each other, and that there was going to be, real consequences for the fact that they're doing this. I love that scene. That scene. Yeah. Even Tony being dismissive of Scott being like, "Who are you again?"
Right.
That old bit.
He just out zings him right there. He's like, Pym always told me never trust the Stark. He's like, who are you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
It is. The three-way fight though too, the Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man stuff at the end.
Yeah.
Is also great. And what I love what that movie does too is that it like Tony and Cap sort of like reunite and kind of squash things right there in that moment right before he finds out about his mom, and then that fight breaks out. Like I like those moments where he's just like, it's good to see you, Tony. Like you know what I mean? And you get a sense of like, oh, this is things are okay. And then nope.
Yeah, I know. It all gets pulled away. So.
Yeah, it's a good ride. Civil War is a good ride.
I agree.
Tommy, Clifton, you guys got anything else?
Oh, definitely. I was going to mention the Age of Ultron, the whole Can you lift Mjolnir bit.
Yeah.
That scene is beautiful.
That's a great scene.
You get them out of uniform, casually mingling with one another, and it's the whole thing. Is that thing where they suspect Thor's powers BS? Basically, basically what I see it as.
What I like about that scene is like you said, it's nice. It's a nice moment of camaraderie. They're all, like, again, it's a Hawkeye line of like, it's a trick. It's not real. It's like, the whole call into question about whether he's a god, capital G or little G god kind of a moment.
Yeah.
But of course, also the Carney would think that.
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. Right. Then that's, again, it's a nice moment of characterization where it's kind of like, nah, the Carney would absolutely be like, the guy that's, again, trying to, basically distract you while you're trying to spray water into a clown's mouth to make a balloon pop, would think, of course, that it's going to be something that you can't, that's got to be a trick to it.
Right.
That scene was one that got released early. So I wish I'd not ever seen it. I wish I had seen it within the context of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a great scene. I still love it, but I was like, every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, I really wish they had held this back.
So you don't like trailers, huh?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember where I saw it. I just know it was. I know it was. It was like a leak. Like, I don't know if it was a leak or it was like a promotional thing.
I don't remember either where it was, but it, like, a part of it was out there. Not the full thing. No. I remember.
I think they showed it at San Diego the year before.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah, it was a San Diego scene. Yeah, I think you're 100%
because we were there that year. It was announced, right? The year Age of Ultron was announced. We were there.
Yeah,
probably,
I think we were.
Yeah, I think we were. The three of us were there. So, yeah, I don't think I could have helped it, Tommy. It wasn't a trailer.
Right. But it's not that. If you were in the room to see it, then you remember it there. But I don't think if that's the case.
No, it was in Hall. I'm sure that was in Hall H, and I don't want to spend my entire. I never want to spend my entire convention line for Hall H. Sorry.
No.
Okay.
No, you got to sleep out on the sidewalk.
Yeah, to get a glimpse of it
for a few days before that to get in there. Yeah.
No, but whatever they showed in there, that's immediately going to go viral, regardless of what it is. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
So as soon as they released that clip, and how, to me, it was a nice. You don't know what this movie's about just yet, and to show that scene was just I liked it in itself because it takes it out of what the movie's about in a brief, just a simplistic way, and how everyone chimes in on it. I just like how everyone's taking it, like Black Widow's like, nope, I don't gotta prove my masculinity. I'm good.
Right. No, yeah. I know I'm not worthy. No, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too.
And you don't get a lot of them just hanging out.
If at all.
Which I think is cool too. And yeah, there's a lightness to it and fun, while at the same time, like, that scene is doing a lot. It's doing a lot of setup. It's doing a lot of work for you.
Yeah.
Both for later in that movie and, as we see movies years after the fact, it's set up in that scene.
Yep.
But I just like it because it brings you back to the comics of Mjolnir and Thor, because you don't really get that enough. You probably get it in a couple other scenes in which he can literally only be the one to lift it, no matter what it lays upon, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they do a little bit. Whedon does a little bit of that in the first one, where it's like when Loki basically gets Bruce to change on the helicarrier, and he's after Black Widow, and then they send Thor to deal with him, and they get in that fight, and there's a great scene of they're fighting, and he manages to give Thor a little bit of a nosebleed. And Thor thinks it's kind of funny because nobody hits him that hard,
right?
But he goes over there and tries to pick up Mjolnir, and that's a thing that stops him long enough for Thor to start to get back at him again. Was because he tries to pick it up, and it's not. They don't get a lot of, they don't spell it out so much in the in the Thor movies, the idea that not that he's not worthy, but the idea that it has to be like kind of like if he's away from it too long, or someone else could pick it up or whatever. So
yeah, but there's I think one of the Thor movies you have him laid on Loki's chest to keep him in a particular spot.
Yeah, it's the end of the first one. Yeah, that's how.
That's another great scene.
When Loki's defeated, he just sits it on top of him.
Yeah,
and he's pinned down.
It's such a thing that I'm like, again, it's one of those moments where I'm like, that's again, it's a moment of genius that I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else in anything that he just does it.
Yeah, and it's so great.
Yeah, oh, it's fantastic. It's one of those
so
again.
Great.
Yeah, it just again, it's in its sheer simple simplicity. It's awesome.
But when in Age of Ultron, when Vision lifts it
and hands it to him,
I remember people gasped in the theater
right
when that happened.
Right,
like, I mean that is, I mean, one of my favorite moments in a movie that I think is so underrated in the MCU. I love Age of Ultron.
Okay, I do
so
too.
much, but I mean, I just love that scene where, like, I mean, here it is. This is that moment where this is why you trust him, right?
Yeah,
like that's it right there. You know?
Yeah. I also love the like when that scene is ramping down after they sort of got everybody together before they're about to move on to like the last clip of the movie, or the last chunk, is the idea that Vision sort of modifies his look to become more superheroic, like he gets the cape.
And he models it off. Yeah, he sees Thor in the cape, and he kind of
Yeah, no, I love that because it's one of those things of I liken it to the first steps of him becoming more human, because by the time we get to like say Civil War, he's like wearing normal people clothes, and which I always love that in the comics too, when he's not in his costume, because again, you have those moments where he's trying, and he's definitely trying to be more human. And I think those are always fun and nice callbacks.
I love in Civil War that he's sitting around that table when Thunderbolt Ross is in there, and he's got like a sweater, but he's still got the makeup on and stuff. And I'm such a fan of like any time in Fantastic Four when we see Thing in clothes, like the wedding when he's like in a tuxedo and he's like, like I love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's one of the things I think is great about that too, is just the idea that he's just, he's hanging around in his casual clothes. This is what, he got either went online or went to a store and bought stuff. But again, circling back to the Civil War, I meant to mention the fact that it's the other thing I like about that movie that I didn't mention before, the scene that I really like, I do love the opening of that movie. I think the opening of Civil War is one of the ones that is a really great open, even though it ends in tragedy. It's one of those things where it's one of the few times that we get to see that group of Avengers together.
Right.
I kind of wish they may have done it in the comics, I don't know, but I wish we had gotten to see from the end of Age of Ultron into Civil War. I wish we had gotten to see what that Avengers would have looked like on a successful mission.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Because I think they were a cool group, and I thought they had a lot of, there's a lot of potential to do like a 2.5 movie, and basically that's what kind of what Civil War is, even though it's a Cap movie.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like that open a lot too. I like circling back to Age of Ultron really quick, because I got two more for that. Is one, I like Cap's little speech, when they're all getting ready to, when they're in Sokovia and then they're fighting like the Legion of Ultron robots and stuff. And I just love the part where he's like, if you die, walk it off.
Right.
It's one of those things. It's like, it's a Whedon line, and we all know how Whedon plays with that stuff. And we all know that trope in comics. It made me go like, is there something more to this of like characters dying, having the ability to come back? It always made me think, it was like, is it more loaded than we think of it? And then the other bit is the ending. I like when Vision is talking to the last Ultron bot, and they're sort of talking about the nature of humanity and stuff like that. And the Ultron robot basically is like, you're so naive. And I love that Vision's like, well, I was born yesterday.
Right.
And I'm like, God, that's such a great line.
Yeah, no, it's a terrific line. It reminds me of a line. There's a line in I think it's an old Spike Lee movie. It's Mo Better Blues, is where their Denzel Washington character says, "I may have been born yesterday, but I stayed up all night." And I always think of that. I think of that when I think of that scene where, like, well, I was born yesterday. So yeah, I love that scene too. I think it works really well for Vision, sort of like his naivete about being like a person, but at the same time he has all that intelligence as well.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff.
So all right, there's other movies out there. So Guardians, anybody, anything from Guardians, anything from Ant-Man, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, of course. There's got to be other stuff. Let me think here. I love the end of the second Guardians. I think the second Guardians, the whole bit with about he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. That whole bit,
great line.
That's another one that gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that Yondu was really the one that raised him, and then maybe Ego had been the one that basically provided the material. Yondu was the one who basically looked out for him and took care of him, even though he stole him,
right,
or abducted him. But yeah, that whole thing of like basically that ending of and again in spoiler in Yondu's death, the bit with basically putting on the thing that so that Peter could live. It's again if you're a parent, it's one of those things where it definitely gets to you more than I think if you're not. But
on top of the fact that we also get the Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, that's a great bit too.
Yeah, I love Ego's speech in that movie too. When his plan is revealed, and I just love the universe will become me.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, yeah, sure, great, I love it. Yeah. But playing off of the daddy stuff though, I mean, there's a bit in there when Star-Lord is sort of getting the minute where he's getting powers from being around Ego. Right. And he's sort of getting like that little like ball of energy that he's manipulating. And then Ego takes it and kind of plays with it and it gives it back to Quill and they're tossing it back to each other. And I love that they're just like they're playing catch. Yeah. And it is this fatherly moment of like, I'm teaching you something that you don't know, but while bonding with them at the same time. It's such a beautifully staged scene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's nicely done the way that it's more than what it is. There's a lot of subtext in it.
And then he's a jerk.
Yeah, and then he's revealed to be the villain. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
What else was the first one? I love the prison sequence. The prison break is really nice. The fact that they're planning it and as they're talking about it, Groot puts it in motion and they have to jump into it.
Right.
That basically the plan that they laid out is now the plan they're going with immediately. For everything from Rocket's like, I'm going to need that guy's leg to, the fact that they figures out he's got a way out, with the guard, the drones, all that stuff is great.
Yeah. There's, what was I going to say? I love also from the first one, the you're drunk, Rocket. Like
right.
Because it's silly, but then I love that scene is also like rife with Rocket like pouring his guts out of like he's this close to blasting everybody in the area, but at the same time it's like I didn't ask to be made this way, and and there is a softness to that scene. I love
that.
Well.
The fact that you basically like I didn't have to be torn apart, put back together. That whole thing of like you said, you basically again to be able. It's amazing to me that they're able to get such pathos out of a talking raccoon. Because we get a lot of like that scenes with him, and then later on, we might as well transition this stuff too. Later on when it's basically everyone else is gone but him. That whole thing about the idea that when he's one of the few that survive. It's again, I'm amazed. The performances are from Bradley Cooper, but also the people that create Rocket as a it's not really a thing. It's not really a person. So therefore, it's all computer done, and it's amazing that they're able to do such a great job with that character.
Yeah, but what I like is they shoot it as if he's there. I mean, there is like his brother's actually there on set doing the.
Sean Gunn does the stand-in on set,
right?
Yeah, so they have somebody talking to. But I like when they first all get arrested, and they're changing into the prison garb. Like that scene is shot like when you see like the studs and stuff on Rocket's back.
Yeah,
like it's shot as if there's like that's an actor there. Like it's a slow. It's a slow zoom in on that stuff, and he's just sort of like catching it and everything. And it's not, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's a CG character there in that moment,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think, I love the watch cabinet in Doctor Strange.
Yeah. I'm sure you do.
It's nice. No, it's super nice. No, but I think Doctor Strange has one of the best Act 3s of any of the movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The Groundhog Day, like repeating time over and over. Like I just think it's such an inventive like Act 3.
The whole "I've come to bargain" thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's good. Oh no, I like it a lot too. I think it's it's one of those. My only thing is I wanted more of a deal with I wanted to in the comics when he fights that was my thing. It was like when he first confronts Dormammu and they fight. It's much more of an actual fight, and that was what I was hoping for. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure we'll see the character again at some point because why wouldn't you? Because he's like his biggest villain,
right?
But still, I was hoping for it to be a little more than just the way it was set up. That was my only thing. That was my only quibble with it. But I do like the inventive way that he came up with to defeat him. That worked out. That was smart. But the rest of it, I was kind of like, I'd like to see him as an actual physical being, and it really wasn't that way. So
right. There's a bit in Infinity War too. I remember like the stuff in Wakanda when the fight's like just getting ready to start with all of Thanos' cronies and everything, and they get all the heroes are charging forward, and what I love is that in that moment I'm watching it. And it's that shot that we've all seen in the trailer, except Hulk is taken out, right? And that's the moment where I'm going like shouldn't Cap be like way out ahead of everybody running? I'm like, wait a minute, and then they cut to it, and then he's flying, like he's pulling ahead of everybody else. But what I love is Black Panther's right there in lockstep with him, like right next to him, and I'm like, yep, of course, that's awesome. It's so badass.
Yeah, to me, it's again. We're talking about. I was talking earlier about not wanting to talk about callback stuff, but to me, it's a nice callback to the idea that when he's running with Sam, that he'd be so much faster. But no, T'Challa would be right there with him, and I love that too. What I also love, I guess, was we're going into Infinity War. I love the fight with Black Widow and Okoye, right? Mm-hmm. That's Okoye, and then and ultimately Scarlet Witch against Proxima Midnight,
right? I
love that fight so much. I think that fight is so well staged and so well done. And then it's one of those things of the punchline of, we were upstairs all this time, but basically of like, we could have used you sooner.
Yeah.
I think is great because we don't, for all those dicks who are haters about the fact that we got this, the one moment of all the female characters together in Endgame, even though we got a million poses before it with every other hero in the Marvel universe, but for whatever reason, when women got together in that scene, it was an affront.
I know. Shut up. It's great. It's so awesome.
I know. Everything works. But again, we had minutes after minutes of just posing in front of Thanos, but the one that bothered you is the one where the women did it. Give me a break.
Right. I know.
It's funny you bring up Endgame because I love the Scarlet Witch scene when she goes toe to toe with Thanos. She's like, he said, I don't even know you. Well, you will. Yeah. And then that whole where you see her unbridled, unrestrained power. Right. Yeah. I love that scene.
No, that scene's great. Also in the scene again, getting back to Rocket and how much I'm a mark for that character is like when they're under all that rubble and it's the Hulk and it's Scott and Rocket like I can't breathe. Right. They really sell that moment well of like you don't know what's going to happen, even though it's it's a pretty good thing that they're going to make it. But
God, that fight, that so much awesome stuff, like Spider-Man riding on Mjolnir.
That's right. That's out of Marvel Team Up. It's a DeMatteis. It's a team up with I think Thor in the first part and Valkyrie in the second part. But there's a part where he snags onto to Mjolnir and goes for a ride with it.
Oh God, it's fantastic.
I love Clint with the glove with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah. Playing keep away. Yeah.
Yeah. Play keep away with those. What is it? Overriders or whatever they're called. That part is great too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's so much good stuff in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah. Tony's stuff with his dad.
Yeah.
In the past, that stuff is great too. Oh man.
Yeah. No, I love all that. I love when Sam gets the shield. That's to me, it's one of those. It's one of those moments again of like you're kind of wondering because in the comics, Bucky gets it first, and you don't know if they're going to give it to Bucky, but know that they give it to Sam, and it's a great moment. It's sold really well. Cap Evans in the makeup does a good job of.
Yeah. It's sweet.
Yeah. It's really
sweet.
good.
Like, yeah.
It's a really well done scene. I love that scene. That scene always gets me all the time too.
what gets me too in there is in Endgame is your dad liked cheeseburgers. I'll get you all the cheeseburgers you want. Like that gets me too.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, Happy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll love you, Happy.
Yes. Yeah. But no, I mean that I'm trying to think what's another good from that's great. Oh, and then again, getting back to callbacks, the idea of that you said that they get out of the Mjolnir scene in Ultron. There's the idea of who's going to be able to pick it up is that when that payoff comes.
Oh yeah.
I got to see it. I saw it once. I saw it once with my wife on opening day. We watched it in the afternoon, and then I saw it again with Tommy in a packed theater at the Smithsonian. And both times, everyone lost their minds when that scene happens, as they should. It's a great. It's been years of build up, and it's a great scene. And even Thor saying, "I knew it." All that stuff is it's so good.
And what shocks me is I've not had to explain that scene to anybody.
Yeah,
like I was ready for that too, because I was ready for people wait, why does Cap have lightning? And I kept expecting to have to be whomsoever holds the hammer,
right? Exactly,
possesses the power of Thor, and
right, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And it's no, it's clear to everybody. I thought for sure people that was gonna mix people up. Yeah, but I love that he's good at it already. Right out the gate, he's great with it.
Right. Yeah, there's no learning curve for Cap. Cap is no problem whatsoever. Once he's got it, he's it might be just come from watching Thor, and I guess I never really thought about it before, but if you think about it, it's a funny moment in Infinity War where they talk about the fact that you're wearing I like your hair, I like your beard kind of thing, and the fact that the idea that when he finally, after watching Thor all that time, has no problem picking up Mjolnir or basically being Thor at that point is kind of an extension of that joke.
Yeah, definitely. I got one from Ant-Man and the Wasp really quick because it's a weird thing to say for it, but when they're talking about his time in Civil War and why he's on house arrest and for it, and then and it's the first time he and Wasp actually talk about that scene. And it's the moment where Wasp is if you just would have asked me, I would have been right there with you. And then on top of it is she's like, and you wouldn't have get caught. And it's, and this is the weird part for me. It's so sexy for some reason for me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of both Ant-Mans. I'm the first and the second. I'm a big fan of both. I like in the first one, they do a lot of good bits in the final fight scene with the shrunken down, in the kid's toy room. And the classic bit of the Thomas the Tank Engine about to run over Yellow Jacket. And it's all shot like it's high stakes, from that level. And then it cuts to the wide shot. It's just a toy falls over.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. No,
it's a great
really good
gag. And then Luis, everything with Luis is so good in both movies.
Mm-hmm.
His stories, his recounting of things.
Yeah. Oh, Luis.
Mm-hmm.
Luis is awesome. There was people saying they want Luis to be in the Avengers. I remember after the first Ant-Man, when is he going to get recruited?
Well, there was that push for a while. People wanted Endgame to start with him recapping the entire Marvel universe, the cinematic universe to that point, which I would have been fine with. That would have been great.
I thought, honestly, he was going to be the guy to let Scott out.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be the one to let him out. I really did. Just to get him in there also, I thought, but.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ant-Man stuff is so good too. I like this. I'm cheesy in real life. So I like the fact that when his ex's boyfriend is no, I did this one for you. I did this favor for you, Scott. Like that stuff works on me.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What are we leaving out?
I still have a lot on my list, which we don't have time for, but I
Black Panther.
Yeah, it's we got something about Black Panther.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Come on, let's do it.
I was going to bring up the fact of I don't freeze the whole thing when you were introduced to him doing the covert mission.
Right.
Gosh, when they introduced Killmonger, that was a nice moment.
Hello, Auntie. Hello, Auntie.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Yes, it's crazy.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
he and his sister are great too. That's another really fantastic relationship. I thought that's it's good on the page, but then like the actors just sort of like, elevate it, make it even better.
Mm-hmm. So good.
Yeah. I thought for sure we were going to get at the end, though, at the end of Black Panther, I thought we were going to get the I Am Black Panther as a callback.
Oh yeah,
to I Am Iron Man in the first. I thought for sure.
Right. I like we talked about before in another episode. I like the whole thing of like basically being like with the kid, who are you? And then it's basically an exact unselfish. No, just grins at him and kind of like, no, you'll find out, or now kind of a moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Oh man, there's so much good stuff.
Yeah,
so many. I think my favorite all-time line ever comes from the first one that kicked us off in Iron Man, and it's Tony Stark built this in a cave with scraps.
With a box
still
of
like my favorite line.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Yeah.
No, Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane is awesome. It's a shame that we didn't get, again, if it's a character I'd like to see come back, he was really, really cool. So
me too. Well, it's one of those things that like in the raft in Civil War, like you were talking about, it's one of those that I do wish that we could have gotten some bad guy cameos in there. And like at the moment, at the time, they're just like, there weren't any.
Right.
It was honestly like,
yeah.
I bring him up a lot because I think George St. Pierre is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. I say that without an ounce of hubris, but at the time, I think he was the only bad guy that wasn't killed.
Right.
In any of the movies.
Yeah, you might be
until
right.
the end of that movie when they lock up Zemo.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's probably why.
Yeah.
No one believed they could kill him. It was his MMA career.
Oh, he's the best. I love George St. Pierre. Okay, does anybody have any more to get out? Like one last one they want to get out really quick or anything? Or did you guys get your whole list?
I'm good. I think we can go on and on about scenes in movies.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
Okay. Because I do have my absolute favorite one left. I've been saying
this. Go ahead, put it out.
And it's from one that never gets talked about. I don't think it's really regarded as all that high in a lot of people's, but I am here to defend Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, okay.
Right? And it's this is the scene where Loki is helping Thor escape from Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is just after their mom died, which is, also I think the movie does a really, really good job of selling like the pain that like Thor and Loki are going through in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But they're having an argument and it's gonna turn physical for a moment, right? Like Thor's about to swing at him, like he does, and then he pulls back, right? Mm-hmm. And he says something to the effect, he's like, "Mother wouldn't approve," right? And then Thor jokes, and it's like, well, it's not like she'd be surprised, right? And then this is where Hemsworth is so freaking great, right? There's that moment of like he hears that and he chuckles, and it's kind of like, he's my brother. We have all this history. I love him. He can always make me laugh. It's great. And then in a second, it switches to him like holding back tears and saying like, I wish I could trust you. And it's so heartbreaking for me.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Oh God, it's my favorite scene in any of the movies. Oh yeah. Good old Thor: Dark World. It's good. Yeah. Give it a chance. Give it a chance, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so to start closing out, though, let's do our favorite Stan Lee clip from any of these movies.
I like the one when, I think it's Winter Soldier, where he comes back he's working in the Smithsonian, he comes back to the display, and Cap's costume is gone. He's like, "Oh, I am so fired."
Right.
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Winter Soldier, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that one always makes me laugh, because it's just one of those... it's a funny bit.
Okay.
I thought you were going to mention him standing next to the Watcher.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah, it's one of mine too.
I figured someone else would have it, so I was like, no, I was trying to think of another one, and that I always love the one, just the way he delivers the line. "Ooh, I'm so fired." That's a good one.
I also like the Captain Marvel cameo because it's the one where he actually kind of gets to be himself.
Yeah,
right. Getting ready for his Mallrats cameo,
which is funny. That's a good bit too.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say the Watcher. because it's a good one. But my absolute favorite is honestly in the Fantastic Four movies, because where he plays like the doorman. Because I get kind of choked up at the idea that he's actually playing a character that he created in those scenes. But of the Marvel ones, yeah, if I'm gonna go outside of the Watcher one, I'm gonna say the Civil War one, where he's like the delivery guy and he's like, "Are you Tony Stank?"
Yeah,
right. And Don Cheadle's like, "Yes, he is. Thank you for that."
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good old Stan.
Yes.
Good old Stan. But I will also bring up, though, too, I think it was Age of Ultron that was like the first time that they actually got to credit Jack Kirby. Like in the opening or ending credits. And it wasn't like just in like the special thanks stuff. And like in that, I'm talking about how I get choked up. But what I think is really cool about that scene, like that was really important for me. And that was a big deal. And I did actually almost like cry in the theater seeing that, because the thing is like Stan got to see how big these characters would get. And he got to be in these movies. And he got to be something that people looked forward to in these movies, where like they would applause, like they would pop for him every single time. And Jack Kirby never got to see any of that stuff. And his name is just not front and center like it is with Stan Lee. And so I think finally, like people getting to see his name as to be like, hey, this thing that, you're enjoying, I helped make it all.
Right. Oh yeah.
Is a nice thing.
Totally agree. No, I totally agree.
So good old Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
We don't bring up Jack Kirby near enough on this show. We got to do something. We got to do something for Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know you guys all have your favorite moments in the MCU, so please tell us what they are in the comments. We want to hear them. Be sure to suggest the topic for the show while you're there. Also, please make sure you give us a like and leave a review on whatever platform you're finding us on. As always, you can find links and examples to everything we talk about on letmeknowhowitis.com. Also, if you haven't done already, please subscribe on YouTube. It'll help us to grow. And finally, you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/letmeknowhowitis. Follow us on Twitter at our show's initials, LMKHII. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.